Hey, everybody. Thanks for coming. Hope everyone's having a great Token 2049. And welcome to Vanar Vision. Vanar Vision, we think, is the most exciting event of Token 2049. It's about much more than just showcasing our exciting technology. For us, it's kind of about showing you where we believe the world of Web3 is heading. And it's a really exciting time if you think about what's happening, how everything is changing and evolving, the emergence of AI. We see so many different things and so many exciting technologies. And all of us here who are at Token 2049, we're at the, not even the leading edge, we're at the bleeding edge of technology, where all this stuff is happening. And we're so excited to be part of all these different innovations. And we are standing at something that's really interesting. We're standing at the convergence of AI, of financial autonomy, and on-chain intelligence. So it's a really, really exciting time. And a lot of us are trying to navigate what this is going to look like. And to that end, we're joined today by some of Vanar's amazing partners, some of who we're actually working with to build new innovations. And we're so excited that they could be here to join us today. We're also joined by other exciting leaders in Web3, and some couldn't make it because the traffic is terrible outside, but we'll make it work. We've got three key events. Our first panel is talking about, will AI finally meet blockchain? Then our CEO Jawad Ashraf will take the stage with a tech demo and an explainer about Neutron, our new technology which redefines on-chain data, and then maybe he'll reveal just one more exciting secret that Vanar has got. And then the third panel will be joined by some great partners who are going to talk about how PayFi, or even the way in which industry recognizes this term PayFi, is reshaping finance. And then after that, we'll have a bit of time for networking. We have our activity room, our interactive room back there, where we've got a couple of pioneering projects, both in AI, Inflectiv, which is doing amazing stuff with data, and an exciting RWA project, Subhabrata, who have got their demos there, and you can learn much more about our ecosystem as well. You may or may know, Vanar has been very active with our countrywide growth strategy for the last 12 months. We've been working in Pakistan. We're seeing the fruits of that now with World Liberty Finance and CZ and all this other exciting stuff happening. So much to talk about, and I don't want to take up any more of your time. Thank you for coming, and welcome to the event, and I'll turn it over to our first panel.
Well, thank you so much, Ash, for that great introduction. I'd like to invite the amazing speakers I've got with me today on stage, please. Amazing. So we can kickstart with a round of very, very quick introductions. My name is Alnura. I'm a PR director at Input Global. We are a PR and marketing agency that helps Web3 businesses be heard. Please, Matthias.
Thank you very much. Turn this on. Okay, it works. Hello, everyone. I'm Matthias Mandiau. I'm the CTO of Inflectiv. We're a data infrastructure for AI. So happy to be here tonight.
Amazing.
Hey, everybody. Jawad Ashraf, CEO of Vanar. Thank you everyone for coming.
Hi, I'm Subho. I lead the engineering for Web3 and AI based out of Singapore.
Amazing. Well, as we promised, amazing lineup of speakers that we have here. And my first question is actually to Google Cloud, and that is, we are currently facing, a challenge of so much AI data getting generated. And the question is, what is the key challenge when it comes to data storage, and how can we really effectively manage it?
That's a really good question, because we cannot start on a good pedestal with AI without a sound backing of data. And as we get more into AI, the things that on a day-to-day basis we encounter is the data complete? Is the data accurate? Is the data trustworthy? What governance did I put behind that data? And finally, when I start handling larger and larger data sets, which are not just structured, but video content, pictures, a lot of IoT-based data, how do I do labeling? How do I differentiate what's a good data versus a bad data? So these are certain fundamental questions that we have to solve for before we put that into a model. And I'll give you a few real-life examples. We put from 1960 onwards all service manuals of a particular car manufacturer and fed that into an AI model and asked a question on what's an issue with my engine. It gave me 3 responses. 2 of those responses were models that were outdated in 1970s. So there has to be a data governance, there has to be a data completeness, and the data has to make sense for what questions we are asking for.
Absolutely. And I mean, you've put out really great challenges there. Jawad, my question to you is, how do you think decentralized solutions will play a role in solving them?
Well, I think with decentralized solutions, it's more about what sort of data will find itself onto decentralized solutions. Because we're talking about, let's say, IoT data, data that needs regulation, and that's very important. But then, when it comes to decentralized data, what about the other data? You know, the data that comes from people, the data that actually comes from companies who want their information stored under a copyright where they believe the data is going to be secure. And so when you look at all of the data in the world, I mean, you have a whole batch over here which AI is completely sucked up already. But there's a massive batch that hasn't been. And that's locked into silos everywhere. And that's really something that I found very interesting about this Inflectiv project. And that's the key mission of this, to unlock that locked data. And so when you talk about that particular challenge, it's a case of, yes, it's unstructured, but when it comes from people, that's the richest knowledge. And that's actually the most unstructured data you could get. It's like a stream of consciousness sometimes, but it's of incredible value. And so I think the challenges are going to be, how can we, in a smart fashion, handle and understanding the meaning of data? Because that's actually, you know, even when you talk about AI and you're saying that, you know, that AI needs to work with good data, we need another AI that can comprehend the value of that data and where it slots in together. So I think once you have something like this, then it empowers everything else.
Love that. And I mean, even just to sum up your 2 points, you know, at the beginning of our panel, it's always data trust, transparency, data provenance. The key things that we keep on hearing about that are, you know, key challenges to solve for. Matthias, my question for you is, how do you think blockchain can solve for these in AI systems effectively?
I mean, first of all, AI is only as good as its data, right? Blockchain is a really amazing technology we all know in this room. And it's been designed for a certain purpose, right? It's basically part of a stack. So it brings transparency, that's one thing, which is great, but mostly ownership and incentivization. The issue at the moment with centralized solutions like, for example, like Facebook, right, Meta, they all made a lot of money, still are, sitting on people's data, right? How is that data being used? And there's so many people in the room here. All of you you're sitting on tons of really valuable data, which is basically as a liquid asset, you should be able to get like benefits for contributing with that data. Basically through tokenization of data sets, for example. Let's say you have a skill set or knowledge, or you're working for a university on a piece of research that's really valuable. How can you basically bring that to a certain use case and actually benefit from that? So that's the thing about Inflectiv, we're solving that. And we don't only do that, but also make sure it's of the highest quality for AI. There's no point of exposing gigabytes or terabytes of whatever data irrelevant to the world. Make sure it's structured and high quality.
Amazing. Subho, I want to come back to you, and that is, you know, we've been hearing a lot about AI meets blockchain, right? We've been hearing a lot about how amazing that relationship can be, how many incredible use cases that can come to life thanks to that. What do you think is a key challenge, or maybe there is a couple, in integrating blockchain technology into large-scale AI systems?
That's a wonderful question, because as rightly Matthias was pointing out, blockchain as a technology was done with a purpose of collaboration, with a purpose of trust, seeking transparency. AI, on the other hand, was done with in its object of reasoning. To have reasoning, I need a solid grounding of data. And now, things start getting really complex. Think about situations in healthcare, where I not want to expose a patient record to AI, but I would require the AI to learn from all the diseases that every patient has undergone, right? So these are classic cases where blockchain meets AI. And similarly, from a financial institution perspective, I want a fraud system, but I do not want to give away my customer records. How can I do distributed AI learning? That's where AI models can learn of everywhere in an element of trust without having to share data with each other. So these are really cool, innovative use cases in healthcare, in any of those regulated industries that places a very high premium on data security and data governance.
Thank you for that. And the other point that I just wanted to raise, when it comes to both AI and blockchain, they tend to have not a very good reputation when it comes to sustainability or environmental impact. But just wondering, Matthias, maybe you can shed a light on the combination of AI and blockchain. How could that create solutions that are actually environmentally friendly?
I mean, it's really about the amount of energy that's used, right? So first of all, why would you expose tons of data, basically bombard AI agents or other applications with that data? There's no point. So if you basically can make it hyper-relevant and very small, and just making sure that everything in that data set is just like perfect for that use case, it's going to be a lot more sustainable, actually. So I think this is where the solution is sitting. Companies need to stop having all this. I mean, they can have the raw data, but do something with it. Make sure it's structured. I think that's one thing.
So it's more about being targeted and mindful with how you utilize the data and hence the energy. But Jawad, just wanted...
Yeah, it's stockpiled. I mean, like companies, the big thing before we had Web3, Web2 was all about building technologies. Then it went into storing massive sets of data. And every major brand collects tons of information that they then do nothing with. And now they're hosting it, they're storing it, and they're collecting it. And it's literally like they have got warehouses of information of which they just scratch their heads and go, well, at least we got it. It's like hoarding. And that problem is that all of that takes energy, and it's costly. And so what Matthias says about being hyper-targeted is very important. Bring in the relevance of the right data and only store that and use that, and you're in good shape.
Love those insights there. And I guess a more controversial question. I think when the ChatGPT was launched, AI has become sort of this big thing that everyone wanting to get their hands on, from investors to obviously projects that had nothing to do with AI before. Now all of a sudden, absolutely embrace AI as technology. Matthias, I mean, you're building a platform that very much utilizes AI. What do you say to sort of critics that just say that AI amidst blockchain is just a way to, garner investor interest, but has little value to the end user?
I mean, people are always skeptical, right? Every single technology in the history of humankind, at the beginning, people were like, is that something that we want? And then all of a sudden, like enough people start using it, and actually you get like really good use cases, like they call it like adoption rate. Same thing with crypto, right? I mean, now we're getting to the point that's getting pretty common, right? If we get up to like 1 billion users, it's going to be like, oh yeah, everybody's using it, right? Same thing with AI. Yes, data needs to be secured. Yes, the use cases need to be secured as well. Every technology can also be used for the wrong purposes or like less ethical purposes, right? So more and more, that AI agents and applications are entering our lives and actually providing benefits, and if we can actually also benefit from it, from our own data, people are going to be more convinced of it, I think. So, rest assured.
I guess time will tell. But you mentioned something interesting, which is, onboarding the next billion users. When I hear a lot about, let's say, the relationship between AI and blockchain, to me, a lot of the benefit ends up being with the end user, but it's very much the sort of, the B2B partners, the institutional, entities that have to be persuaded, right, that this is also in their best interest. So I just want to come back to you. When you're trying to juggle between that balance of benefiting the end user versus benefiting the, the B2B partners, how do you have that conversation?
Look, it's always about the end user, right? Because the end user drives demand. So if you can make the end user happy, the B2B partners will be happy. So at the end of the day, this is often a conversation we have. It's even when we talk to funds, we talk to companies and partners, they have an idea of how they can please people around them. But if you get it, and we hope we do, we're trying to understand how best to provide utility. You have a happy customer, you provide them utility, then everyone else up the chain benefits because people actually embrace that. Brands have more customers. And when you're talking about the blockchain and AI, and why is it different? It's because right now, when it comes to critical data, it's held by institutions because the trust isn't there. People can't trust their data anywhere than an institution, medical data, government data, private information. All the serious stuff is gatekept by an organization which is regulated. Now, the whole promise of blockchain was trustless trust. And it can provide that. So if you can take that data, unlock it, and then have something that can utilize it and allow developers to build something useful, people just move to those apps. And it happens like this. Just like people gravitated to AI within 2 years, you provide them killer applications. I want to, it's almost like you had an insight into what I'm going to be announcing next, because there's certain things that we can enable now with our blockchain, which will be things like your medical data is completely private. And if you want to access the data, the part of the data you want, it'll pull it out in a trusted way with ZK proofs and provide it to whoever needs to consume it. So now your data doesn't have to sit with an institution. It just needs trust, and the blockchain can deliver that, but the blockchain hasn't delivered that to today. Right now it's a ledger. A blockchain with data and AI, that's the future.
So we're waiting for the killer application to deliver on the message.
And the killer blockchain that will empower that. So
well, more on that later, but Subho, just want to get more insights on this question from you.
So I completely agree with you. It's unless you show what the future holds like, there's no one who's going to believe you, and everyone will be a critic. So what AI did for a revolution was, the reason AI became a successful hit because it first concentrated on the end consumer. My son actually taught me AI. He went to that and said, here is how you do this, and here is how you can compose a poem. So we started there at the consumer, and then eventually everyone between the consumer and the business, everyone started finding a way to make it happen. So once you focus on the consumer, everyone in that ecosystem starts gravitating towards making it work.
Amazing. So it's still consumer first, and then the rest will have to follow whether they want to or not. I guess I just want to throw a question to all of the panelists here. We've heard interesting insights on just AI and blockchain, how the two can complement one another, how the two are absolutely necessary for one another. My question is, what do you think 5 years from now? What is going to be the key use case that potentially will have the sort of the mass adoption that we're talking about today, and it does leverage both AI and blockchain? Matthias, we can start from you.
That's a good question.
Nice, easy question.
So in 5 years from now, how I'd like to see the world, and I really strongly believe we're going there, is the fact that at this point, everything online seems to be personalized and relevant, but I don't think it is. It's very fragmented. Some of your data is sitting there, some of your data is sitting there. In 5 years from now, I'd like to go online and use an AI that knows me, that knows what's relevant, knows what kind of clothing I wear, knows like what kind of trips I like to take. Basically everything around me, so I can lock it into any online environment and basically have a hyper-relevant experience. And that's the thing with blockchain, it gives that basically the ownership aspect. Without that, forget about it. You can bridge it across the whole internet, everything online. That really excites me.
All right, looking forward to that becoming a reality. But
We're
Jawad,
building it, so that's Inflectiv.
everyone here is a witness, right? So if that doesn't happen in 5 years, Matthias is the one to blame. But Jawad, what is the use case that you are confident will be the use case in 5 years?
Yeah, I think a malevolent AI will download as a robot and kill all of us, basically, by then. So that's what's going to happen in 5 years' time. No. Basically, I think the way that technology really works is like if you look at mobile's everywhere. We use it for everything. In fact, we're holding the mobile phone way too much in our hands. I think the use case will be everything. Everything, every aspect of our day-to-day life, from our banking to medicine to education especially, is heavily going to be driven via AI. And blockchain and that infrastructure will be the enabling part of that, which is going to be trust. That information is secure and decentralized. And then you're going to have the other part, which is going to be industry and government, which are going to be using blockchain, but in a more corporate way, in a more structured fashion, so they can actually have provenance and history of their data as well. But blockchain will need to get a lot better. Right now, it's, like we talk about blockchain and AI. Blockchain is the old technology. AI is the new technology. So blockchains need to get smarter. They need to evolve, and they need to have ML components all the way through them. So machine, like little virtual machines and ML and SLMs need to be part of the blockchain. And right now, like there was like an announcement just 2 weeks ago, I think it was Cardano, said we've reached the peak of where we are with our blockchain. But blockchain's at the beginning. So I think 5 years from now, it'll be everywhere. But the players who are going to be at that point probably are going to we'll only see 10% of them now. Because being first is never going to put you into first place. I remember when Google first launched, Web Spider and everything else was out, and they were just saying, hey, we're just another search engine. But they had an agenda to dominate the world, but they didn't talk about that. So those companies those companies are around. So 5 years from now, I think there's going to be some new stars. The old companies are trying to catch up, but agility is key in this situation. And China's, there's so much coming out there. We're going to see some big players. They're going to take over the cars, but we're going to see some incredibly new tech from there as well.
Amazing. So blockchains need to get better. Quite a self-challenge coming from a CEO of a layer one, but more on that later. So what are your thoughts? The use case in 5 years?
So you're the first person who asked me about AI in 5 years. Usually people ask me for 12 months because you know how the speed of innovation is far higher, but I'll try to attempt to answer it. I would equate AI to freedom. And the reason I would say AI equals freedom is because everyone can code. Whether you have a professional computer science degree, whether you have experience as a coder, does not really matter. The vibe coding platforms of the world will allow you to code no matter whether you have a coding background or not. You can create art, you can create music, you can create a movie, and you may not have that background. So AI will enable a user be more equal to freedom, where they can pursue their own tastes, they can pursue their own hobbies, they can pursue their own professional careers. Where blockchain meets AI is today, all the models that we have in the world are trained on all of the data that is publicly available. And that is done. That is where we are today. From now on, differentiation is when that secure piece of data that is sitting within organizations is exposed to AI and the model starts learning from it. And that is where blockchain comes into play, because securely I can then share the data. The model can then do a distributed learning, and that's how the model will get smarter. And that is where healthcare, for example, or even autonomous vehicles, for example, or even financial transactions, for example, that's where people can securely share data. And that's where it can make more sense of it. So that is where blockchain becomes the underlying glue that makes a model become smarter. And a smarter model will make the user become more independent.